The 2026 draft season is upon us. I'm a little late to the party, but we are back on the channel for mock drafts for another year. If this is your first time here, I appreciate you. Stick around. We got a lot of draft content coming your way all the way up to draft day. If this is not your first time and you've been here since we started this in, I think, 2021, right? Let me look. Yeah, 2021 when we started this, or if joined last year, we had, our biggest growth as a channel last year, views per video, subscribers, everything like that. Welcome back. We are starting this year out with my favorite team. I think this is how I started the year last year as well. The Pittsburgh Steelers 7 round mock draft. I'm gonna get my first round mock draft next week after the Senior Bowl is over, just so I can see, what happens there. Let's see. No, I actually did my first video last year was a full first round post Senior Bowl actually. So relatively the same time, a little bit of a difference. Um, if you're new here, we do full first rounds. We do 7 rounds per team. The only team that we do more than once will be the Steelers because that is my favorite team. I'll probably do 2 or 3 of those again, like I did last year. Full first rounds, we'll probably do 2 to 3. And then we'll do like one where we do full 2 rounds, and then we'll do occasional 7 rounds here and there. My goal is to hit at least 16 of the 32 NFL teams this draft cycle. So, anyways, we are back, and if you did not know house rules on the 7 round mock draft videos, we will run 2 to 3 mock drafts in the video. I might go through it a little faster today, especially once we get into the later rounds, considering the Steelers have a bunch of picks, which we'll talk about in a minute. I will talk about impending free agents, which is new this year. I will talk about my needs for the team pre-free agency, and I will also take a look at the roster over here on PFF. But that's where we're going to start at today is the roster. Looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, we're starting at the quarterback position. Obviously, everybody knows the situation there. I feel like Aaron Rodgers played majority of the snaps this year, to be exact, 89% to be exact of the snaps. Mason Rudolph filled in there a little bit as well. He was not not very good. And Aaron Rodgers was fine. He had his moments where he looked like prime Aaron Rodgers, and he had his moments where he looked like he forgot how to play football. I do not expect Aaron Rodgers to be back for my team next season. Now, we did just sign Mike McCarthy as our new head coach, which that's crazy to think that, Mike Tomlin isn't going to be coaching my team anymore. But I don't really think, I think Aaron Rodgers, it seemed if he was done, but who knows. We do also have Will Howard, who we took last year in the draft, I think in the 6th round to be correct, um, who people do think he has potential. And then we also have Skylar Thompson, who I also think is a free agent. We'll look at that again here in a minute. Going to the receiver, so quarterback is definitely a question mark. But I'll give you my official needs list here when we get into the mock draft simulator. Over here at receiver, oh geez, I mean this is just awful. Obviously we traded for DK Metcalf last all season after trading George Pickens, or before trading George Pickens, actually I think. He was fine. Obviously he had his little spurt there at the end of the year with the suspension and everything. He did have some drops here and there as well, but still relatively pretty good, especially later half of the season, I would say. And then we filled in our wide receiver room with just a whole bunch of flyers, such as Adam Thielen, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Ben Skoranek, who he's really more of a special teams guy, anyways. Scotty Miller, and then we had Roman Wilson, who provided little to nothing. And we also had Calvin Austin, who really didn't do a whole lot this year. So wide receiver room, I think going into the offseason, if you ask 100 Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I'm sure a lot of them will say, yeah, our biggest need is wide receiver. Halfback, this is an interesting room because Jalen Warren had a good year. Kenneth Gainwell was awesome. He was amazing, which surprised me. And then Caleb Johnson, who did literally nothing for us. He actually lost us a game against the Seahawks early in the year and got like no playing time at all. And this was a guy that I was decently high on coming out of the draft. I was very excited that we got him in the third round. And then he did nothing. I still do think that he can be fine for us. Kenneth Gainwell is also an impending free agent, so potential that Caleb Johnson will have significant snaps next year. But the running back room, in my opinion, as of right now, is fine. Tight ends, also a fine room. I feel like Jonnu Smith. I mean, that's got to be one of the worst trades we've ever made. I was fine to get Minka's money off the books, but man, like Jonnu Smith was literally the worst player on the Steelers this year, probably. Like actually, well, he was the worst player on offense, I would say. He provided absolutely nothing. I feel like every single time outside of his halfback toss rushing touchdown that he had, uh, if I'm correct, on Monday Night Football against the Dolphins, he provided nothing. Like every time I felt like Jonnu Smith was on the ball, he dropped it. Every time I feel like Jonnu Smith caught the ball, it was minimal gain. Like, I'm sorry, but Jonnu Smith, please cut Jonnu Smith. I don't care what you do this offseason as long as you cut Jonnu Smith. Donor Washington breakout year from him, and he only played like a little over half the year due to injuries. Connor Hayward, tush push specialist. That's really about all he provides, though. And then Pat Fryermuth. I mean, man, like I just don't understand. You give him all that money on an extension, and then you don't use him. Like Pat Fryermuth and Darnell Washington should be the best 1-2 combo in the league when it comes to tight ends, and it seemed as if nobody cared that Pat Fryermuth was in the city of Pittsburgh this past year. So I think tight end room is also fine as long as we get Jonnu Smith out of there. And then going to the offensive line, Zach Frazier, again, a good year, good sophomore year from Zach Frazier. Really, really happy that we got him the other year in the draft in the second round. And man, like great year from him. Fine at center. And then it gets where it gets questionable on the offensive line. Um, Guards and tackle. Mason McCormick, again, another guy that had a good sophomore year. So right guard, that's locked down for Mason McCormick. Isaac Seumalo had a good year. However, he is old, he is injury prone, and he is a free agent. I wouldn't mind bringing him back on maybe a 1 or 2, maybe a 2-year deal, as long as we can get him for kind of cheap. But he's a guy that I think potentially could go out the door. Spencer Anderson was not great filling in when he did fill in. So, I'm good on him. Dylan Cook was a surprise. Came out of nowhere, played significant snaps for us down the stretch there at the end of the year, and actually played pretty well at left tackle. He is not a free agent, so I do wonder. Hey, Broderick Jones was awful again. Do we move on from Broderick Jones? Does Dylan Cook stay at left tackle? Can Dylan Cook play guard inside the left guard if Isaiah Seumalo goes and we do run it back 1 more year with Broderick Jones at left tackle? There's a whole lot of questions going on in this offensive line, especially on the left side. And Troy Fautanu was mid, I guess I would say, at right tackle this year. Again, like that's not a questionable thing though. Like, is he going to be a replacement? So, that right side of the offensive line from center to right tackle, boom, we've got our three guys, but it really gets questionable on that left side of the offensive line as well. Um, then corners. Corners. James Pierre. Wow. I mean, awful the past 2 years. And then all of a sudden, he is the second best corner in the league per PFF. 88.9 coverage grade. Wow. On a contract year, a little questionable, huh? But man, what a good year from James Pierre. Really stepped up for us. Like, if you go back to last year and you watch me talk about the Steelers, when I was doing my AFC draft grades after the draft, I was very upset because I had a big need at corner for us. And we took one, Dante Kent, who I think was on IR all year. I mean, obviously, looking at it right there, he didn't play a snap. I know he didn't play a snap, but I'm pretty sure he was on IR all year. And we took him in the seventh round, and I was very upset at the fact that we didn't take a corner during the draft, except for Dante Kent, because I thought we really needed help there, and we had went and signed Darius Slay and Brandon Echols, which I'll get to Brandon Echols in a minute. Obviously, hindsight 2020 now, we end up releasing Darius Slay. He was not good for us at all, and we end up releasing him. Brandon Echols was actually a surprise. He was actually not that bad. So shout out to him because I was not happy. I was like, "Oh, Brandon Echols, like who cares?" Last year, and then Asante Samuel comes in the middle of the year and actually plays well for us too. But James Pierre stepping up big time is huge. Joey Porter Jr. has a bounce back year after having a terrible 2024, 55.3 grade. Actually, has the best year per PFF grades of his career, and honestly, probably did hit 76.6 coverage grade. So corner is questionable though because James Pierre. He's a free agent. Asante Samuel Jr., if I'm not mistaken, is also a free agent. So we're really running it back with Joey Porter Jr. and Brandon Echols at that point. Corners. I mean, sorry, not corners. Safeties. Man, this was not great. Sean Elliott was having another pretty decent year, coming off of a career year before that. Then gets hurt out for the year. That crushed us. We then had to move Jalen Ramsey, who was not having a good year at corner, back to safety, where he did turn his season around a little bit. We went and got Jabril Peppers, who was not good defensively at all. He was fine in special teams, but he was awful when he was on the field defensively. Kyle Duggar, we go and trade for him, and he was abysmal. 41.7 coverage grade. Now, he was not bad on blitzes, and he wasn't terrible defending the run. I mean, he 59 is not great, but he wasn't like awful, awful defending the run. But coverage, oh, good Lord. Um, and then Chuck Clark, who another guy that, like Jalen Ramsey, the second half of the year really kind of turned it around a little bit. He was not good at the beginning of the year. It was like every time they threw the ball to Chuck Clark, it didn't matter. It was getting caught. But not bad. He did play the run very well. 86.5 run defense grade, 67.2 coverage grade as well. So Chuck Clark's interesting, but he's another guy that is a free agent. So that secondary as a whole right now, I definitely think, hey, we might want to look at that in the offseason as well. And again, this is all pre-free agency, so it is kind of hard to actually tell right now. This is a specific need for sure for every team, really, not even just the Steelers, just because, like I said, all these guys that I've named that are impending free agents. And it's like, okay, hey, if we don't re-sign them, then yes, we do need this position. But if we do re-sign them, we don't need to worry about it. Linebacker, we went out, got Malik Harrison. He was okay defending the run and blitzing. Patrick Queen was awful outside of blitzing this year. And then Peyton Wilson, the strength of Peyton Wilson was always the coverage. It was like, hey, Malik Harrison, you're gonna go stuff the run. Peyton Wilson, you're gonna come out on 3rd and 8 and play coverage. And he was not good in coverage this year. He was okay also blitzing. And then Cole Holcomb's grade makes him look better than he actually was, in my opinion. Cole Holcomb was not great, which is really sad to see because he had that gruesome injury. He was out for a really long time. He was really good before the injury for us, and then he comes back and just didn't look great. So I think that linebacking room is very, very much of a need as well. And again, I'll talk more about that later. Going to the front seven on the defensive line. Well, I guess technically we're already in the front seven due to linebacker, but going to the defensive line. Really good year from the defensive line, in my opinion. I know the grades don't show it, but I mean, obviously Cameron Hayward, wow, what a year again. Worried. I'm very worried that he's going to retire, but he's coming off two like really, 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 really good years. So I'm hoping he's going to ride it out at least another year or two, maybe. Um, uh, Loudermilk was awful in the very short time that he played. Otumiwo, I think is how you say it, was not great in his little snaps that he filled in on. And then our other main three guys, I called him Yaya last year. I think his actual name is YA, supposedly. YA Black. Derek Harmon, and Keanu Benton. Derek Harmon's grades don't show, in my opinion. Derek Harmon definitely had a way better year than what the grades show, in my opinion. Y.A. Black was fine as a depth guy, and Keanu Benton I thought had a good year as well, especially rushing the passer, and that does show in his grades. Run defense was okay. Again, I think Keanu Benton and Derek Carr, in my opinion, played way better than those grades show. So defensive line, I'm really not worried about too much at all, unless Cameron Hayward retires, then it gets a little tricky. And then last but not least, the edge room, one of the best edge rushing rooms in the league. You got TJ Watt, who really is honestly starting to fall off, in my opinion. Alex Highsmith, another great year. Nick Herbig, wow, what a year, especially rushing the passer. Good Lord, 87.3 pass rush grade. And then Jack Sawyer, again, in my opinion, I don't think Jack Sawyer's grade shows everything. He has a 63 pass rush grade. I thought he was actually pretty decent, and he had a few turnovers, like big plays as well for us. So edge room, again, it gets tricky because Highsmith, Watt, and Herbig have all had injury concerns. Um, but it's interesting to see what happens with him because I'm not so sure that TJ Watt is a Steeler next year. And then obviously special teams, Chris Boswell, one of the best kickers in the league. Corliss Waitman was a decent punter, I'm not going to lie. But he is also a free agent. So talking about the free agents, going over to the free agents. Just talk about him real quick. Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he'll be back. Isaac Seumalo, I think there is a chance that he is back on a short contract. Kyle Duggar, I just don't. I I wouldn't bring him back, to be honest, especially with Deshaun Elliott returning from injury. If you're going to play Jalen Ramsey back there, I definitely would not bring Kyle Duggar back. Kenneth Gainwell, I would like to bring back for how much he provided for us on offense this year. Calvin Austin, I'm fine with bringing back as long as it's cheap. Adam Thielen retired after we got blown out in the playoffs. Chuck Clark, I think I'm good on. I wouldn't mind bringing him back, but I think I'm good on. I would like to bring James Pierre back. I'm just worried that he's going to ask for way too much than what he's worth, in my opinion, based off this year that he had. I'm always on the wave in every sport, to be honest. If you only had one good year and you didn't have really any other good years before that, I'm not gonna pay you just based on the fact that you had the one good year in your contract year. We've seen it too many times in every sport to where that's not been good for teams and organizations. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, please get him out of Pittsburgh. Corliss Waitman, again, he was a pretty decent punter for us. I wouldn't mind bringing him back. Um, Asante Samuel Jr., if we can bring him back for cheap, I would like to do that as well. Cole Holcomb, I, I'm good. I think I'm good. We really need linebackers, but I think I'm good. Scotty Miller, see ya. Odemiwo, see ya. Andrews Pete filled in for us a little bit here and there on the offensive line due to injuries. See ya. Connor Hayward. I'm fine with bringing Connor Hayward back as long as it's cheap, obviously. Jabril Peppers by. Actually, I'm fine with bringing Jabril Peppers back on a specific special teams only role. Daniel Ukaeli, Ekuali. I don't know how to say his last name. I just saw him over here. He actually didn't have a bad grade, but he only played 72 snaps. Maybe as a depth piece, sure. Ryan McCollum. And the rest of these really don't matter except for who do I want to talk about? Miles Killebrew. I think it was ACL. It was ACL or something like that. Season-ending injury, regardless. Before the season even started. He's been one of our captains the past few years. Big, big, big special teams guy. So I definitely would like to bring Miles Killebrew back. So that is the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. Let's get into these drafts. Again, like I said at the beginning, if you didn't know how this works, I will run 2 to 3 full 7-round mock drafts. The Pittsburgh Steelers official pre-free agency needs list for me. Again, like I said earlier, pre-free agency makes it confusing due to the fact that you don't know who you're going to resign and who you're not going to resign. So, a position of need, like I said, might not be a position of need right after free agency is over because you're going to resign this guy or whatever, right? Or you're going to go sign this guy, player A who fits this need that you have. So these are all pre-free agency needs. The two positions I have labeled as a need for the Pittsburgh Steelers, no matter what happens in free agency, is wide receiver and linebacker. Especially because I do think if we cut Patrick Queen, we save like I think it's $10 million or something. Then I have what I like to call the question mark labeled positions. This is all due to essentially free agency. Quarterback, um, running back depth. I said depth because it's interesting because if Kenneth Gainwell goes, maybe you don't trust Caleb Johnson to be your running back two, and maybe you do need to go get a running back two in free agency. Or maybe you do trust Caleb Johnson and you're like, okay, cool, we've got two good running backs. Let's go, sign this lower tier veteran to just fill in that room just in case of an injury. And then I have left guard, left tackle, signified as question marks, and corner due to the James Pierre and Asante Samuel free agent or being in free agents. And then I also just said front seven depth. We have so many picks that those later picks, hey, I might go take an IDL or hey, I might go take an edge rusher just to get an extra guy in that room. So here we go. This is how I run my settings on 7 round mock drafts. Let's get into it. Starting off the draft. Again, I haven't done a full first round, so you haven't heard me talk about all these guys yet and how I feel about them. I will admit I am late on it, but I am still watching film on a bunch of guys. My next two guys I do want to watch is Fano and Lomu, and the other Utah guys because I watch a full team at once. But I will talk about some guys as we get there. So sitting here at pick 21, a lot of these mock drafts I've watched, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion. Um, I'm just not so sure on those guys. I really am not. So this has kind of been my thought process here when we get to pick 21, and this is usually about how the board looks. Originally, I was like, yo, CJ Allen makes a bunch of sense. And then I went and watched CJ Allen, and I was like, wait, this does not feel like the same guy I watched during the season. So I'm kind of out on CJ Allen at 21. I think he'd be more of a guy that if his draft stock cools off and he's sitting there at 53, I would love it, but not at 21. Um, I'm kind of out on Casey Concepcion right now. I need to go back and watch film on him, but like, dude, I really don't know how. I feel really weird about him because I feel like he can be very, very good in the NFL, but I also feel like he can be a huge bust. Just my concern with him is the size. 5'11", 190. Yes, we've seen plenty of receivers in the NFL be successful at that size. And obviously he's very fast and a pretty good route runner, but it's like I don't know what it is about him. It's something that it's telling me to avoid Casey Concepcion. Denzel Boston, I'm fine with at 21, but it won't be my pick. So with the board sitting how it is, we do have Francis Malinois from Miami, and I might pronounce this wrong. I'm gonna be able to pronounce it at the end of the draft cycle 100%. Hopefully before then, I think it's Ione, something like that. Loane, from Penn State, the guard, who I am a big fan of. Sitting here, offensive line wise, still have Caden Proctor sitting here. We got Monroe Freeling, who I just watched for the first time, sitting here. In my opinion, Emmanuel Pregnon is a first round pick as well, the guard from Oregon. So with all this offensive line sitting here, I really think I'm going to go offensive line just due to the question marks. I know that this is not a popular pick. I know that Steelers fans are going to be like, you really took an offensive line. And now, granted, when we get to draft day, we might not even need an offensive lineman, at least in the first 4 to 5 rounds. But as of this minute, as of right now, hey, Isaiah Malu's gone. Isaiah Malu walks. I'm going to take Ioane from Penn State, the guard. So second round, oh, Pregnon is just sitting there, but we don't need another guard. Bro, I always take somebody. I was messing around with the Steelers 7 round mock drafts in here on the simulator. I always am like, you know what? I'm gonna take a receiver and hope Pregnon's there at 53, and he's never there. And the one time I don't take a receiver and I take a guard, Pregnon's there. Man, that would be awesome. Emmanuel McNeil Warren is sitting here, which I really like out of Toledo. D'Angelo Pons, Omar Cooper Jr. I also like both of those guys. Um, there is a lot of receivers in this draft that I like, and I think there's somebody that we can get at 67 or 85 or 99 that I'm fine with. So with Emmanuel McNeil Warren sitting here when he's usually not, I am going to take him. I really like D'Angelo Pons. It just worries me at the fact that he's 5'9" and 170. That's really the only reason what even remotely strays me away from him. Um, because like let's be honest, if D'Angelo Pons was the played the same way that he does and was 6 foot 200 and was as fast as he is, he would 100% be a first round pick. I'm going to take Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I know that's maybe not a popular pick when I didn't even mention safety being a need, but this gives you the luxury, since you're already paying Jalen Ramsey anyways, to potentially move him back down to corner and have McNeil Warren in there with Deshaun Elliott, with Chuck Clark or Kyle Duggar or whoever if you re sign them. Um, so I really like that move right there. And then, man, I was going to take a receiver right here like Skylar Bell or somebody, but Chandler Rivers being here surprises me. Corner out of Duke, 5'10", 185. Again, another smaller corner, but a guy that I really like. And I just think that he has to be the pick because after him, there's really not too many corners I'm a huge fan of. Xavier Scott's fine. Julian Neal's fine. I do like Malik Muhammad and Jalen Kilgore later on. And Ig Igbonason from Ohio State. So maybe I'm not going to take Chandler Rivers. We could go receiver here. I'm not huge on CJ Daniels or Chris Brazzell. Zachariah Branch I like, but I don't like him on these Steelers. I know that price sounds weird, so I think maybe Skylar Bell, 6 foot 185. I like Skylar Bell, but that worries me taking him from a smaller school. We really need a receiver. We're gonna take Skylar Bell out of UConn. Pick 85, a bunch of guys still sitting here that we just talked about. Jacob Rodriguez sitting here, though, he's really about the last linebacker I feel comfortable taking. So I am going to go ahead and take J-Rod from Texas Tech. He's another guy where it feels like, hey, produced a lot in college, not going to do anything in the NFL, but we're going to take the chance on him. Malachi Fields, there's a bunch of interesting guys sitting here. I like Malik Muhammad, could double down at corner. I like Michael Taft, but we already took a safety. I don't really like any of these quarterbacks. I'm gonna stay away. Also, with quarterback, I didn't talk about this earlier. I'm very much in the boat that the Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna sign somebody, rather draft somebody, um, and then still have Howard and Rudolph on the roster. I think Malik Willis really, really makes a lot of sense. So I'm gonna stay away from quarterback until these late round picks, probably. Isaiah World being here doesn't I don't mind that. I'd probably rather Brian Parker the second though from Duke if I was going to take a tackle here. Those two are really JC Davis is fine, I guess. Those two are really about the only two tackles I like left. I'm gonna take Brian Parker from Duke here. Jalen Kilgore just went. I don't mind Nick Singleton. There's a lot of running backs in this class that I don't mind though, so I'm gonna probably stay away from running back for now. Oh, Pat Coogan. Um, all right, this is where we're going to probably start doubling up on some positions here and there. I am going to take Nick Singleton though, just to add him in that running back room. Uh, this is where it gets interesting in the part of these 7 round mock drafts because we have so many picks where it's just like I don't even know what to take anymore. I'm gonna go and take Ig, Ig, Igbenison. I don't know how to say his name from Ohio State. Because I really like him. He's in one of those later round prospects that I like. Max Llewellyn, I don't mind. Add to the edge rusher room. Jaden Kennedy, I don't mind, but we already took 2 corners. Parker Brailsford, somebody that I really like in later rounds. Bud Clark, somebody that I really like in later rounds. Caleb Douglas is somebody I like in later rounds. Okay. So let me go back to this needs list. So we took a guard, we took a tackle. All right. Adding to the depth of the offensive line. We took a running back just in case we need one. We have taken a linebacker. I wouldn't mind doubling up on linebacker, to be honest. We took one corner, I'm sorry, and a safety. I said two corners a minute ago. I wouldn't mind doubling up on some of these positions here. What wide receivers are left? I don't mind Kevin Coleman. Again, I don't mind Caleb Douglas. I feel like it's a lot of these guys. I feel like in my mind, I'm like, it's too early to take them, but there's not really anybody else on the board that I want to take over them. Ooh. Hmm. I'm good on those linebackers right now. I'm really, there's just nobody sitting here that's calling out to me where it's like, hey, I really want to take this guy. I'm gonna get some edge rushing. I'm gonna get some edge rushing depth here. I'm gonna take Max Llewellyn from Iowa. I was gonna take TJ Gott from Michigan, but I'm good. Okay, so then we have these seventh round picks that we just have sitting here. I'm gonna double up on receiver. I'm gonna go get Colin Lacey from Louisville. I like him. We're gonna go get a quarterback to add to that room. I'm gonna take Sawyer Robinson or Taylor Green. Sawyer Robinson feels like more like the Mike McCarthy type quarterback, but I'm very enamored with Taylor Green's potential. So I'm gonna go Taylor Green. Uh, And then should we add an IDL, I guess? Add an IDL for some depth, and then we can go with another linebacker, I guess. Um, IDLs, is there anybody? Maybe Landon Robinson. Landon Robinson from Navy probably interests me the most out of these guys, but I really don't like any of them. I'm gonna take Landon Robinson from Navy. And then we're gonna go with another linebacker who's even here, Eric Gentry. I don't mind Bryce Botcher, I think as I say it, but he's the guy from Oregon that did get drafted by the Houston Astros, so I just feel like that's a waste of a pick because he's probably gonna go play baseball. I don't mind Jack Kelly, I guess. Jack Kelly's probably the guy that stands. Justin Jefferson was interesting to me on film. What's his PFF grades? Yeah. Yeah, I think he would be like a coverage specialist, but even then, he wouldn't be great. Wade Wood as, bro. He's so bad, bro. He is so bad. Basante didn't have a bad playoff, I feel like. Yeah, he had a good game against Ole Miss, had a decent game against Indiana, had a good game against A&M. Struggled a lot early in the season. I wouldn't mind Basante, I don't think. Scooby Williams isn't terrible. So who are we going to take? Scooby Williams. Really want to take Botcher, but I just feel like it's a waste of a pick. I'm gonna go with Basante. What's it, Basante from Miami? So that is mock draft number one. I am only gonna run two in this video, just one because I feel like I've been talking forever, but two because we have so many picks. I feel like I don't need to do three. Um, so PFF mock draft simulator does not like our later round picks with a bunch of C's, but they do like our earlier picks. Um, I don't mind this. I don't mind this. So you got Ioane from Penn State, who's going to fill in for Isaiah Malu. You got Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who's going to fill into that safety room, kind of as a depth piece to start. This does give you potential to move Jalen Ramsey to corner, like I mentioned, or gives you potential to cut Jalen Ramsey if it saves you some money, which I think it would. Skylar Bell fits into that receiver room with Colin Lacey. Hopefully, in this scenario, we have went and got somebody, maybe a free agent. Jacob Rodriguez fills in that linebacking room with Wesley Basante and the other guys that I mentioned earlier, Malik Harrison, Peyton Wilson, and then maybe Cole Holcomb. Patrick Queen technically still on contract as of now, but I had heard a lot of stuff swirling around that we might cut him. Brian Parker Jr. That's interesting. We've hit on these mid-round offensive linemen in the past few years. So maybe that's your left tackle. Maybe that is a depth piece. Maybe that is who knows? Who knows, right? Nick Singleton. I didn't even think about this until I was just talking about Brian Parker. A lot of speculation going into the draft was that Troy Fautanu was going to play guard and not tackle the other year. And he's been okay at tackle. I wonder if we could slide Mason McCormick to left guard, slide Troy Fautanu to right guard, and draft a tackle. Hmm. Didn't even think about that. Nick Singleton goes in that running back room. This is kind of solely operating on the fact that Kenneth Gainwell is not on the Pittsburgh Steelers at that point. Igbinosun from Ohio State is another guy we got to figure out how to pronounce the name because I like him as a prospect. Max Llewellyn from Iowa, edge depth piece. Colin Lacey, already mentioned. Taylor Green just adding to that quarterback room. Landon Robinson added into that IDL, depth, and Wesley Basante from Miami. All right, so last one of the video. We'll get back to it. Got the Steelers, got 7 rounds. Here we go. Mind you, also, if you didn't know the picks, we have 21, 53, 76 from Dallas, George Pickens trade, 85, 99 for a compensatory, 121, 135 for a compensatory, 159, 213 and 214, both compensatory picks, 224 from New Orleans, not sure exactly how we got that, and then 237 as well. Now, this one I'm going to entertain. Also, if you did not know this, I didn't mention this earlier. When I do the multiple 7 round mock drafts, I do always take somebody different in the first round. And I try to take at least somebody different in the second and third as well. Some of those repeat guys will show up in the later rounds. So this one, we're sitting here. Denzel Boston still on the board. We're going to go with Denzel Boston this time. Operate that would take a receiver in the first round. Come on, Pregnon, be on there. Never mind, I just saw him get taken. Okay, so this is going to leave us with a little bit of a different idea. Omar Cooper Jr. is a guy, I didn't really discuss him that much in that last one, that I would take at 53 usually if I don't go receiver in the first round. D'Angelo Pond sitting here, I talked about how I am worried about him and his size at the next level, but I don't care. He's on the board. We need a corner. I'm going to go and get him. Deontay Lawson was sitting there. I know he's a linebacker, and you probably thought, oh, you talked so much about linebacker this, linebacker that. Yeah, I'm not huge on Deontay Lawson. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, so that's why I passed up on him there at 53. Um, really just not a whole lot in this linebacking class. It really sucks. That there's not a whole lot this year. Torian York is fine. I wouldn't mind taking him here. Chase Bisontes is somebody that I'm interested in. I know his PFF grades aren't great, but I wouldn't mind him either. Um, I'm gonna go Torian York from Texas A&M here to add to the linebacking room. Try to get some different names in here. Uh, so we went receiver, we went corner, we went linebacker. I think you attack offensive line here. Chase Bisontes being gone. I'm just gonna go back to the last draft. We're gonna take Brian Parker the second again from Duke. Jacob Rodriguez still sitting here. I didn't want to take him again, but he's just sitting here. I gotta take him. I have to. I'm sorry. Hopefully one of those corners stays on the board. We'll double down at corner. I guess after taking D'Angelo Pons, he's not there, so we're gonna pivot here. I saw Michael Taft sitting there at the top. I don't mind Michael Taft. So I am gonna take Michael Taft, the safety out of Texas here to add to that. Just some secondary depth there. Um, Amarj Reed Thomas. Hmm. I think I'm good on him. I'm gonna go take some interior offensive line depth. This is probably technically a reach. I'm gonna go take Parker Brailsford whenever I can find him, I guess. Oh, is he gone already? Parker Brailsford is the center out of Alabama. Oh no, he's way down there. I'm gonna wait then. You know what? Take my guy Cade Klubnik here at pick 135. Why not? Add to the quarterback room. So we've got a quarterback. We've got a receiver. We've got a corner. We've got a linebacker. We've got a tackle. We've got 2 linebackers actually, and we have a safety. Again, there's just so many picks that we have. So why not just double down on some positions, especially positions that need? Is Parker Brailsford still here? I'm gonna go and take him if he is. He is. I'm gonna go and take Parker Brailsford. Just add into that room. Don't think he could play guard, but maybe he could. Maybe he can play guard. And then we've got these 7th round picks. We're gonna go with ooh, Jaden Lucas. Oh man, Jaden Lucas. There is one person that I do not like. It is Jaden Lucas. Straight cost us the game 2 years ago against FSU. Keon Coleman was torching him. Um, I'm fine with Logan Fano, I guess. Add to the edge depth. Okay. I'm gonna go IDL with the next pick. Just again, just IDL depth. Same exact guys from that last conversation. We'll just go Landon Robinson again. And then so I guess we could double down at corner. Yeah, we can double down at corner or receiver, I guess, too. We've only taken one receiver. Double down at corner. There is no corners that are. Jalen would go Bo, I guess. He'll be there if we take a receiver here, though. I'm going to go receiver first here. Colin Lacey, I took last draft. Oh, I forgot Colby Young is hidden down here. Man, Colby Young is somebody that I actually like as long as he's not injured and not into stuff off the field. Corner, Daniel Harris, he's not good. Like, I don't know how you could have him right. Deshaun Jones didn't really pop off to me in the film that I watched him in. I was looking at what his grade was against Georgia. Jalen Gilboa's grades aren't great, but I don't mind him. Pride Junior, Jesus Christ. I haven't heard that name in forever. I'm fine with Jalen Gilbo from Texas here, I think. Doubling down at corner. So last mock draft there for the Steelers. We went Denzel Boston in the first round, going straight to that receiver room. D'Angelo Pons from Indiana in the second round, going straight into that cornerback room. Troy York from Texas A&M and Jacob Rodriguez right after that. Linebackers from Texas A&M and Texas Tech helping out that linebacking room. Brian Parker the second again from Duke. Mentioned it last draft when we took him. Could maybe fill in for Broderick Jones in that left tackle role. Maybe not. I had that idea that I just talked about where maybe you slide Fautano in and maybe he plays right. Who knows? Or he's just an offensive line depth piece. Michael Taff, interesting add to that safety room, little depth piece there. Cade Klubnik going into that quarterback room just as a depth piece. I knew they wouldn't like me taking Parker Brailsford that early. That's fine. Offensive line depth, a guy that I really enjoyed on film. I think he could be a potential riser throughout this draft process. Logan Fano from Utah, Landon Robinson from Navy, both edge and D-line, just depth pieces. And then adding Colby Young and Jalen Gilbo into that corner wide receiver room as depth pieces as well. Colby Young is a guy that I do see potential in, like I mentioned. So that is the video for the day. Steelers, 7-round mock. Did 2 of them again. And yeah, man, just interested to see what that first round looked like from the CPU. Keith Abney goes first round. Okay. Ty Simpson to the Browns at 24. Okay. Sure. All right. So that is the draft. That is the video. I appreciate y'all watching as always. If y'all got any comments or concerns, leave them in the comment section. Like the video. Helps other people see it, I guess. And if you're new here and you like what you saw, subscribe, I guess. We'll be doing mock draft videos um, all off season. My plan is right now to try to stay on a schedule like I did last year, upload on the same day at the same time every week. I'm not sure what that day will be right now because I am coaching basketball. Currently, we have games on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then we'll transition right into baseball where we'll have Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I was going to try to target Tuesdays. We'll see if that works or not. It might be Mondays. It'll be sometime earlier in the week. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Hopefully every week. As we get closer to the draft, my goal is to do 2 videos a week. Once we get closer to draft, maybe about mid-March ish. And like I said, goal early in the video, try to hit a at least 16 teams when it comes to drafts. So appreciate y'all watching again as always, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.